Really appreciate y'all joining today. I'm Dr. Heather McIntosh. I'm with the Center for Career and Leadership Development. I'm the Assistant Director for Internships and Career Readiness. And of course, in my department, we get students who come to our office all the time asking about how to get experience on campus, how to get experience off campus. And so today we just wanted to talk to you about all the different ways that you can get experience on and off campus, academic, non-academic. And so we have some panelists today. We have Ms. Devereaux Lindsay from the Office of Student Engagement. We have Ms. Tricia Purser from Learning Support, Institutional Coordinator for Learning Support. And then we have Dr. Renat Khatmullin from the Department of Natural Sciences. And so we're going to talk to you about different things that we do on campus related to getting better experience.
Online, they're seeing it.
Okay. Y'all will sit over here. Okay, so what we're going to cover today as again, like what experience can look like, because it can look a bunch of different ways. Great. Again, there's multiple ways. Internships is one of the things that students come to my office in particular for a lot, but again, there's many ways outside of that. And so we want to make sure students are aware of them. And then we're also going to, at the end, kind of go over which options might make sense for you this semester. I think there's a little bit of a delay. That's also just FYI. Okay, so obviously experience is important in a lot of different ways. And these are just some of the main ways. They aren't necessarily all of them, but obviously people need to get experience sometimes because of financial stability. Sometimes they just want to explore. They might want to explore different careers. They might want to explore different academic programs, explore their interests, what they might be interested in, explore different kinds of ways to get involved on campus. And then, of course, connection and belonging. That's kind of more related to on campus. Sometimes students really are looking to get experience in relation to being able to get a better sense of belonging, being able to get closer with their peers, learn more about campus, get more involved. And then, of course, pretty much any of the experiences we talk about are all going to relate to building different kinds of skills and transferable skills, which obviously any kind of experience will help you with that. Okay, so first, we're going to have Ms. Devereaux Lindsay come up and talk about more of the on-campus type of experiences that you can get. I was, but you can look at your house.
Okay, well, I guess I'll just look at you guys so it's not as awkward. But I am Devereaux Lindsay. As you can see, I have with me today my awesome student assistant, Jasmine.
Everybody.
But I work in the Office of Student Life. I'm the assistant director for engagement and service. And just here because Heather asked me to talk about some ways that we can really relate service to building your resume. Obviously, when you're building relationships, you're also building your resume when you're doing these things. You're getting hands-on leadership, you're working on your communication, and you're working on empathy. And I put empathy there specifically because in my role, I've had the pleasure of working with different service organizations and interacting with a lot of different people. And it really teaches you to appreciate the differences that people have, which is something that is always going to apply in the workplace. Even when you're in the classroom, you're not going to be sitting next to someone who is exactly like you. So it's always amazing to me to see when students engage in community service and gain that empathy skill, which can transfer to the workplace. Mirror of accountability and professionalism. One thing that happens quite frequently when we do community service events is local news media reaches out to me to interview students. I don't want to put a student in front of a camera that's going to embarrass me or the school. So working on that professionalism at those service events is important because once you get into the workplace, it's going to be even more vital to have that skill. Two of the biggest platforms that we have for service in my department are the NGA Day of Service, which is once a year. And if you have not engaged with that, I highly encourage you to do so. It's always the last Friday in September. And then our alternative spring and fall breaks. Those are limited in participation, but they are a great experience to gain a lot of community service hours and work on all those things that I just mentioned. You're working on your teamwork because we are literally on the road for a few days at a time, traveling together in the hotel together. And the other thing I wanted to point out is that the service opportunities is not just student life. We have the funding to do some of these more flashier programs, but community service is happening all across campus. You just have to look for it. And student involvement, campus involvement with student organizations. So just like service contributing to your overall engagement, so does being in a student organization, which is why I have Jazz here to talk to you in just a second. But you are directly building those resume skills like task delegation, transferring into supervisory experience. And when you're advocating for members of your student organization, that's the same thing as advocating for a department in a professional workplace. You're networking when you're setting those meetings, when you're setting those maybe fundraiser projects, that's project management. And then of course, you're just balancing the responsibilities of your academics and being in a position of leadership in your student organization. So I want Jazz to step in because she really is a product of both of these things, the community service as someone who's been on multiple alternative spring breaks, who has directly helped me plan the day of service, and who is also a member of the Student Government Association.
Hi everybody, my name is Jasmine Sewell. Thank you for that, Ms. Devereaux. So my freshman year, I attended the fall alternative spring break. That was my first break that I went to. I didn't really know anybody, but in me going and in me just taking that leap and doing something to be a part and help my community, I was able to meet Ms. Devereaux. She was able to see me work in action and see me adapt. She said empathy. Empathy was a really big thing that you do learn on attending those trips, but I think adaptability is also almost even bigger. It's something that works well for community service and transfers well into the workforce and, you know, getting out there. I take that adaptability and use it for my RA job and even for our job now where I have to reach out to under Ms. Deb, I work as a community service coordinator, so I'm reaching out to different organizations and have to adapt to their schedule and their timings. But it's really a skill that you learn there and speaking with these people that you don't know and really getting accustomed to their way of things and the way they operate. But and going on that trip and developing those soft skills, I then take that and represent the school and SGA, you know, where I'm supposed to be the voice of the students. So we listen to these students and we take the things that they say. Now we're having meetings to help develop the school as, you know, we grow bigger and bigger. So yeah, it's just, you really have to get involved in your community. You have to get involved in school so that you can learn these skills, be a part of these programs and, you know, really just contribute to something.
Okay. All right, and now we're going to have Ms. Tricia Purser come up and talk about the peer mentor program.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tricia Purser. I am the Learning Support Coordinator here at MGA, and I also work with our Roundtable mentors. So the peer mentoring program is just a group of MGA students who assist students with their academic and personal acclimation to MGA. The peer mentors provide semester-long support to their mentees. This assistance can include orienting new students to campus, connecting students with academic resource centers, and then modeling good study skills. And the good thing about the peer mentor program is that all students can benefit from this. You will learn valuable skills, even if you're not a freshman. So we have a couple of goals within the program, a few I've already mentioned. We connect student with resources, foster a sense of belonging at MGA, teach good study habits, encourage a positive growth mindset, and help students achieve goals and help them keep track on those goals. So one of the things that the peer mentors do is provide one-on-one support. And the purposes of the one-on-one support, it provides individualized support. So you can address unique needs, concerns, and goals of each mentee. It helps you build trust and rapport. So regular interactions foster a strong relationship, which leads to open communication. You want to monitor the progress so you can able to gently keep your student on track while identifying areas of need. Problem solving, providing constructive feedback, and you can strengthen accountability. And this will all help you develop skills that you'll need not only at MGA, but into your work life beyond.
Okay, next slide, please. Okay, and so the last way we're going to talk about as far as non-academic related on-campus involvement is something that my office does. I mean, we do a lot of things, but we do have a student leadership conference coming up towards the end of this month, and that is also a great way for students to get experience. When you get into the professional world, you might often go to work conferences. I know that's something that could maybe make somebody potentially nervous, not know how to navigate that, but it's a great opportunity to be able to network with your peers, network with professionals, network with leaders, attend insightful sessions. I didn't want to read all this, but yeah, so it's a free event. And you can register on our website, but it'll help you develop skills necessary for future leadership positions. You'll participate in sessions that introduce new ideas, challenges, ways of thinking, and empower you to make a difference. So that's something that our office runs. And again, that's something good. It can look good on a resume to be able to have that conference experience. It's a professional setting. You'll be talking with professionals, learning from professionals. And so I definitely wanted to mention that. And that'll be on February 27th on the Macon campus. And one thing I'll also add, if you aren't on the Macon campus, if you're on the Cochrane campus, we do provide transportation. And so you would be able, if need be, to get transportation to the Macon campus if you're on the Cochrane campus. So kind of shifting away from the on-campus, non-academic type of experiences, I'm going to focus more on the different kind of career and professional experiences, because I think, a lot of students, when they hear the word experience, that might be where their mind often goes to first, is they're thinking about it in relation to like work experience, which that is important, obviously. And so, part-time jobs is kind of an obvious one. Again, our office can help with that in different ways. We can help students look for those opportunities. So often they're usually not necessarily related to your major or degree program. They could be, but more often than not, they're usually not. But however, they can really help you build some of those foundational workplace experiences, start developing some of those transferable soft skills. I mean, most jobs, you're going to wind up developing all different kinds of skills in it. And then, of course, looks good on a resume. Pretty much everything we're going to talk about today, with the exception of one that I'll mention, is great for resume content to show employers all the different kinds of experiences you've done while you're in college. And so we do part-time job fairs actually on the Macon and Cochrane campus every August. And so for students who are just looking for just a part-time job, just to get some basic experience, they're not necessarily focused on having to relate to their major right now, I definitely would suggest trying to go to one of those. We do an all-industry career fair on our Macon campus, and we do provide transportation from Cochrane. And we do that every March and October. And sometimes students hear career fair and they're like, oh, that might be more for those who are about to graduate or those who are recent grads. But no, we have employers that offer all kinds of opportunities. They offer part-time jobs, internships, full-time jobs as well, volunteer opportunities. And so there really is all different kinds of opportunities, including part-time jobs at our all-industry fair. And then Handshake is the main platform that our office uses that houses our job board. So again, thinking about looking for part-time jobs, any employer who contacts us wanting to post their opportunities to our students, that's where they all go. We actually use Handshake for a lot of things in our office. And I have the web address at the top. It's easy. It's just mga.joinhandshake.com. You can use your MGA email to activate it. It only takes a few minutes. And so you have access to that. And then, of course, is on-campus jobs. Now, I'll go ahead and mention a lot of students think that our office handles that, understandably, but actually human resources handles that because you would be actually an employee of the institution. So since you would be working at MGA, that would actually go through our human resources office. However, that's really a great way to get some experience. And I can talk about that for a while. I even did a workshop only on this a couple of weeks ago for like an hour. So I can say a lot about it, but it's again, it's where you get paid, obviously, for that financial stability, and you'd be able to work at a different university office. Again, typically these wouldn't necessarily relate directly to your major. They could. I mean, you could be a marketing concentration, and there are different kinds of marketing positions that open up on campus. So you might be able to find one that relates to your degree and major, and you can kind of look at it as an on-campus job and potentially even an internship. But more often than not, it may not. However, it's a way to get experience that's also in a more flexible environment. And so again, we work with their class schedule. And so it's a way to get that supportive first professional role, get that work experience. And one thing I'll add is, well, I can add a bunch of things, but a lot of offices, I don't know, in my experience, do look to hire a student who's going to be there for a while. So you might be a first year student, even a first semester student, and you might be thinking, like, I don't have any prior work experience, so I don't even feel like I'm qualified to apply for on-campus jobs. But again, the expectation isn't necessarily that you would have had a bunch of experience already. And oftentimes offices want to hire a student who's going to be with them for 2, 3, 4 years. I mean, because we have to do onboarding and training, and that can take a long time. So we're not necessarily trying to do that every semester. We would love to have a student for a while. So again, if you're a first year student, first semester student, don't think that you wouldn't be able to qualify for these types of roles. So I would encourage you to look for them. And I gave the web address. It's just easy. It's a shortcut that'll take you like where to find them. It's just mga.edu/HR. Again, that'll take you right there. There's a career opportunity section, and then you'll be able to find the student job board from that. The delay gets me. Okay, so internships. Part of when we were kind of developing this session today, it kind of initially stemmed from maybe just talking about like how to get an internship, just because that is something that so many students come to us for. And that is a type of experience you really need to try to get while you're in college. I can't recommend that enough. I mean, the fact of the matter is getting the degree is important. The education is important, but employers expect you to get hands-on experiences while you're in college, and especially ones that might be somewhat related to your field. Of course, you can get other experience outside of that to help build up your leadership skills, to help build up your soft skills, but they are expecting some kind of hands-on experience as well. That's where internships come into play. And that's why a lot of students come to our office looking for those. So obviously those would be connected to your field, your degree program. It would be a way for you to apply what you're learning in the classroom to a real life setting. And they can look a bunch of different ways. Some are paid, some are unpaid, some last 8 weeks, some last 16 weeks, some might be part-time, some might be full-time. So they can look a lot of different ways, but they help you to get that hands-on industry experience in your field. Typically, you're going to be kind of like mentored by a supervisor. They're not going to expect you to know everything already. I think that can sometimes make a student hesitant to apply, because that mindset of like, I haven't done anything in this field at all, but it's like that's what they're there for. And employers hiring for internships know that. Handshake is where we post those, obviously. That's where any job or internship gets posted on that board. LinkedIn is a good place to potentially look for internships as well. Again, the career fairs, I mentioned the ones that our office does. We do them every semester. And then your network. One thing I always suggest that sometimes students don't think about is you don't know the connections that other people have. You could be talking with your academic advisor and just mentioning that they might have a relative who works at a company that looks for those type of interns. You might mention it to a classmate whose dad works at a company that might have those types of internships. So definitely being vocal about it and talking to your network about what you're looking for is something that would be very important to do. Now, with micro-internships, here's what I'll add about internships. If you are a first-year student or first semester student, it is going to be a little tougher for you, because I do have a lot of students come to my office. They're brand new, their very first semester in college, and they're really excited, and they're trying to just jump in and get as much experience as possible, which is great. You want to be proactive. You want to do that. However, admittedly, a lot of internships, not all, but a lot of internships typically might want you to be a little bit further along, junior, senior year, want you to have taken some classes in that degree program already. And so they're going to want some of that academic experience under your belt a little. So it's still good to go ahead and look there. We're going to talk about other things you can do instead of internships that would be maybe more available for you at this time if you are first year. But micro internships is also something to look into as well. Typically, those are more flexible. They typically are 1 to 4 weeks, if that. And it's usually just a project you're working on, a project that might take 8 hours to do over a 2-week period, 20 hours to do over a 2-week period. Micro internships is something I don't know if students always think about or even know about. So they are internships, but slightly different, because it's usually just one project, much shorter time span. And so again, you're kind of testing your interest without having to do a full 8-week or 16-week commitment or a full-time commitment. So you're kind of able to go ahead and get that hands-on experience in a more low-key way. But then, of course, it can give you some confidence about maybe pursuing what your next thing will be, your next internship. And so Parker Dewey is the pretty much main organization / website where you will find those. And it's just www.parkerdewey.com, really easy. But if you're interested in looking into that as a way to try to go ahead and get some actual like hands-on relevant degree experience, that is definitely something to look into, especially if you're first year. And then of course, something we're going to touch on more in just a few minutes is faculty and campus-based projects, or can be kind of similar to that as well, like kind of short projects that might only last, a short period of time. And so those can kind of be looked at as almost the same thing as well. So a couple of things that I recommend to a lot of students, especially those students who, are trying to go ahead and jump in and get some experience, get some behind the scenes feel, or those who might just be exploring different career options. They might possibly not have a specific career goal in mind. They might be interested in a few different things. They might not know what their exact path is. One thing that I really recommend to consider is job shadowing. And so that's pretty much what it sounds like. You would basically shadow a professional in the field you're trying to get into, or that has the type of job role that you want to get into eventually, or you're thinking about getting into eventually. And so you wouldn't be doing like hands-on work. You wouldn't be doing a project. You wouldn't be doing the tasks yourself, but you would kind of see what a normal day or a normal week is like in this type of industry or in this type of job role. And so it's a way for you to get that behind the scenes look. One thing I will add about job shadowing is that those typically you're not going to see those posted. That's where you got to be really proactive and reach out to an employer, reach out to a professional, and see if they would be willing to allow you to have that opportunity. I've told students this several times before, but this was about maybe 2 years ago, year and a half ago, 2 years ago. I was going to my doctor for my annual visit, and he had a student with him shadowing him for the week who was going to be about to start med school, and she was interested in being the kind of doctor that he was, like his specialty. And I've been going to him for like 20 years, and he had never had a student with him before. And so I asked her, obviously with my role, I was curious. I asked her, I said, how were you able to set this up? And she was just like, I just called and asked. I called and asked if I could shadow for a week, and he agreed, and she was able to shadow him and for an entire week. And that's a really, really good experience. Again, you got to be proactive about it, but you can just get that clarity. You might realize one thing that internships and job shadowing can both do is kind of help you clarify your career goals. You might realize this isn't for me. You might realize this isn't what I thought it was, or it might solidify them of like, yes, I know this is definitely what I want to do now. But it can go both ways, but both of those ways, again, are going to be very helpful for you to make informed choices going further and kind of figure out what your next steps are. And so informational interviews is kind of similar. It's something you got to be proactive about. And I'll touch on that a little more. We're going to do a session in April that's basically how to reach out to employers to ask about these opportunities, because it can seem a little nerve-wracking. But informational interviews is where you find somebody who's in the job role that you're interested in, or one that you're thinking about pursuing, and just basically picking their brain. It's pretty common. In my years here in the office, I had a student do it with me once. They were thinking about getting into career services and wanted to meet with me and just kind of get an idea of, what path led to that. What is some advice if you want to get into that? And so again, it's kind of more low key, low stress, just talking with a professional and just getting an idea what would be the best next steps. What would you recommend? How did you get into this field? How did you get into this area? What kind of internships did you do? Where did you intern? That kind of stuff. So again, and it's a very short time commitment. Typically, an average one might be an hour. You might wind up meeting with them a few times. That can look a few different ways, but instead of like job shadowing that might last a day, might last a week, internships that typically last several weeks. This is something that would just be kind of a short time dedication, and you would still be able to get some useful information in order to figure out what your next steps are, maybe get some better understanding of that field, what it's really like working in that field. And it gives you good opportunities to network as well. Learn from professionals, meet some professionals. Mentorships can even come from that kind of thing. And it might give you more confidence that you're on the right path. It might just give you more confidence about what your next steps are, being able to hear from a professional who can be encouraging and let you know what you need to do. And so those are the types of kind of non-campus type of experiences, the more career and professional experiences, that again, our office can help you with in a lot of different ways. You can make one-on-one appointments to get help looking for part-time jobs, to get help looking for internships and micro-internships. Again, we're going to do a session in April to kind of give you tips and advice on how to reach out to employers for these types of opportunities. And so, we hope you take advantage. But what we're going to talk about now, so Ms. Lindsay talked about the on-campus, non-academic type of experiences, but we actually have a faculty member from the Department of Natural Sciences that's going to talk to you about the more academic faculty-led type of experiences that you can also get on campus as well. And so Dr. Renat Khatmullin is going to discuss those with you.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having me as a part of this wonderful workshop. So I have been told that there are students that are watching us online, and that's amazing. I did bring some freebies to students, but perhaps I might be able to meet you elsewhere, maybe on the Macon campus, if we're going to have the similar session. My name is Dr. K, and I am a faculty with the Department of Natural Sciences. I teach chemistry, and this semester I'm also helping or assisting Dr. Balding's office. She is the Dean of Graduate Studies, and her office is also in charge of international studies here at MGA. And so I'm assisting Dr. Balding's office, and I would be happy to just talk to you for a few minutes about study abroad opportunities and USG Global, goes global, and also would like to discuss with you the internship and research opportunities that we use, for example, in our department, that may be a similar experience that you can get within your field of study. And so, yes, of course, we have here the globe with many flags, and study abroad at MGA. It's obviously a program that would allow students to travel abroad. So there are several locations that we offer here at MGA where students can travel abroad, as well as students have an opportunity to not necessarily leave the US, but just travel to a different state. And so take a course, for example, a coursework at a different institution, at a different site in a different state. And so what you have before you here is that obviously this is a very enriching experience if you are interested in learning about international community. Maybe you have a dream country that you would like to go to that may be associated with an opportunity to earn a credit as part of your study. That is perhaps something that you want to look into. So you can obviously travel. It's a global travel that is available. There are several locations that I'm going to talk to you about that are offered here at MGA. But perhaps if this is not the portfolio of countries and locations that you're looking for, that's not the end of the road. We also have USG Goes Global program that is led by faculty from our institution as well as from sister institutions that I'm going to discuss in a moment with you. You can earn credit, you can stay on track in your program, and these are short-term faculty-led programs. So often what will happen is you will be meeting your faculty member who is responsible for study abroad program. There are some informational and essential sessions prior to the actual trip. Sometimes there are virtual sessions that are available free of charge, like we have with study abroad program here at MGA, study abroad in France. And the idea is that students are obviously going to be prepared ahead of time and will be able to ask questions about the country that we would like to visit, the field of study, the coursework, and all these essential questions are usually discussed prior to the actual trip abroad, where you're going to take the course or complete your coursework. So next slide, please. As you can see here, we have a screenshot of MGA's webpage, Study Abroad. It's hosted under International Education. So if you're going to just simply navigate through the website, you will be able to find Study Abroad page, MGA page that is dedicated for study abroad programs. We have several locations here, as you can see: Costa Rica, France, India, Ireland for nursing majors. So sometimes we have study abroad programs that are specific. And then we have so-called, if you will, study away. These are not the programs abroad, but we are the programs here at in United States, such as Illinois, Wisconsin, and we have Washington, D.C. So what we're trying to do now is we are actually working this semester as we speak in building this or updating this web page. And by looking at these locations, you will be able to find, hopefully, an essential information about when this particular study is taking place. So typically, we have these opportunities at the end of the semester. For example, at the end of spring semester, we sometimes offer it throughout the semester. Many programs are offered during summertime because, as you can imagine, if you want to travel to Europe, perhaps you might want to travel there for your program of study during the summertime or late springtime when the weather is great, when it's not too cold outside, especially if your course work requires visits, like site visits, for example, like many do. You will find some essential information very soon about duration of this program, who is going to lead this program, what coursework is that, so particular course, how long is the study going to be available for. So we typically think about 1 to 3 weeks of study abroad program. So it's relatively short time, but it's yet long enough for you to experience a new culture and also earn a credit. If you just dreaming about traveling abroad and you have some spare funds to do that, this perhaps may be a good way of doing that, because when you travel abroad, you often have to plan your own program, but here you kind of can get best of two worlds. So you'll be able to travel, but yet you'll be able to receive the credit. All right, so we're going to go to the next slide. So why faculty-led? Because you're familiar with MGA professors. We're short term. We typically occur in smaller groups, and it actually fits your degree plan. So that's the whole idea. All right, so we're going to move to the next slide. All right, so who can participate in study abroad programs? So typically, we would like to offer study abroad programs to all our students, right? So the idea is that it's not specific, although sometimes it could be a specific program, but it's widely available to all of our students. And so what you have here is you have, I think we lost our slide. Okay, we're back. So you will be able to earn MGA credit. These courses are pre-approved. Financial aid typically applies. There might be scholarships that are available that you can ask about. It typically fits most majors. We obviously welcome all the students, and first generation and transfer students are welcome, and often no language is required when you go for study abroad program, unlike exchange program. For example, student exchange programs that we can talk about a little bit as well when you travel for just a semester abroad may require you to know the language, but we are working also on exchange programs, student exchange programs that are longer programs for example, entire semester, where you might be able to participate in exchange, travel abroad, study in the university or college that is abroad, but yet take all your courses in English. But often exchange programs do require or may require the knowledge of language, but it's typically not the case with study abroad. So no language is required. All right. Okay, so we're going to move on to the next slide, and this is actually an image of a flyer that we tend to give out to students, and I have some that are available here that I can give out to our student members as well as faculty and staff members. So there is a QR code. What I will be asking Dr. Heather McIntosh to do, if possible, is to share this flyer and also contact information of faculty members that could be a good contact person, could be a good contact person, for example, to ask about that. So we do have a QR code here. So it does have its essential information in it. And also, as I mentioned, some of our study abroad programs are running under the umbrella of USG Goes Global, as well as the programs that are available through USG Goes Global that our students, you guys, can participate in. And we're offered by sister institutions where, again, faculty-led programs from different sister institutions. But you're welcome, of course, to explore USG Goes Global webpage to see the offerings. There are a lot more offerings than it is under the umbrella of MGA, but you absolutely will be able to find the program that you are interested in, or the course that you will be interested in, as well as the country that you dream to visit or perhaps would like to visit and travel to. So just remember, we have them at MGA, but as well as at the USG, on the USG side. Okay, so again, this flyer will be available, so we will make a copy available, and please let us know if you have any questions. And with that, I'm going to move to the second part of my presentation. If you could just indulge me for a few more minutes. So I would like to talk to you about what Dr. McIntosh already mentioned. Micro-internships, research opportunities, they are obviously essential, especially once you graduate from college. Your employer is definitely going to look for these skills. If you go into graduate school, perhaps research is something that you can add to your resume as you apply to make you more competitive for schools and employers to be interested in, enrolling you or hiring you. And so what I would like to discuss here is just the idea of how we do it in my department, in the Department of Natural Sciences. But what I would like to tell you, though, is that it doesn't necessarily have to be our department. The experience that I'm going to share right now, that our students, our biology majors mostly get, so mostly it's biology majors that are taking these courses in our department. This experience or similar experience perhaps is available in the department which hosts your program of study. And so I'll give you a few ideas or tips on how potentially you can learn about internships and research opportunities. So as you can see, these are the pictures that are available on the web page. These are our students, actually. So these are students in the Department of Natural Sciences. And so they tend to participate, our students tend to participate in research work. And so there will be a few slides that we would like to share with you. So we can move to the next one. So we have research opportunities through the coursework that we offer. For example, in the program of study, we have an offering for science courses that are independent research courses. That is what we have in our department. Similar courses may exist in the program of study. that you're interested in. So perhaps you may want to contact either your advisor, or you may want to contact directly a department chair. Or the best thing to do, if you want to be really active or proactive about it, sometimes it just makes sense to visit this particular department, and often you will be greeted by administrative assistant. You can let them know what you're looking for, and they will be happy to help you and forward you to the faculty contact, or that would be able to help you to navigate through the program of study and opportunities that you have. So our students participate in research that we do in biology, chemistry, physics, and engineering. So these are STEM fields. So you can see our students actually spending a semester typically working on the research project that is an independent research project that is led by a faculty member. Often you're not going to be the only student. You also have group mates. Sometimes that is a plus, because a group mate of yours is maybe more experienced in the research that we do, so we can also participate in mentoring you. And we have here a few images, as you can see, of our students doing a lab research. So that would be in the lab settings. Field research, where students would go into the open field to do, for example, organismal studies or ecological studies. And then we have MGA symposium that will be held in March, where our students tend to present their research work. And so this symposium is held here at MGA. And so that would be a great way or the opportunity for you to start. There's other conferences as well. I believe there is interdisciplinary conference here at MGA that you can participate in to also kind of showcase your research. And that would benefit your resume greatly as well, because you will have a presentation done, and it always looks great when you present to the public, right? Or to the research community. So we have here additional images of symposium. You can see that students do oral presentations, and we can do, perhaps if you're not comfortable to do oral presentation, you can do a poster presentation. And I'm sure that similar opportunities exist in the field of study that you chose. So the best way to do that is to reach out to your advisor or your department to find out what opportunities we got. So we had our students who presented at MGA's symposium. Some of our students presented at Association of Southeastern Biologists meeting, Georgia Academy of Sciences. One of our faculty members even took his students to Australia. So our students traveled as far as Australia to present their research, and they have an opportunity not only to present research, but also publish that work with their faculty members. All right. So the internship in our department and collaborations are done within the department itself, but also outside of the department. So there's some ideas that might be similar or available through your field of study. For example, our biology majors tend to benefit from USDA research station collaboration with them, so we can do internship there. It's in Byron, Georgia. So Georgia DNR, Go Fish Education Center, and Perry. And as you can see, these locations are local. And so sometimes you just want to reach out to Career Center or your department to find out if there's such opportunities exist. And I'm sure they do exist. So Macon Museum of Arts and Sciences. And so the internships that our students do at these centers is, for example, at the Museum of Arts and Sciences in Macon. That is the internship where we assigned to, or we actually not assigned, we pick one of these locations based on their interest. And in Macon, for example, Museum of Arts and Sciences, our students may spend their internship learning and caring for, say, animals. So that's a very valuable experience. And so we do have a mentor who is overseeing what we do on site. So this is not the faculty member here at MGA. It's actually a supervisor, if you will, or mentor outside of our institution, which is quite valuable to you guys, to our students, because if your dream, for example, as a biology major, is to go into the vet school or work at the museum, or perhaps you want to work at the zoo, this is a quite valuable experience for you. And again, I'm saying this for the 100th time, similar opportunities may exist and probably do exist within your field of study. So that's how we do that. And finally, what I wanted to mention to you is that in our department, what we tend to do is we tend to offer courses that have a cure element embedded into it. So let me just quickly mention what cures are. So CURE is a course embedded or based undergraduate research experience where our students can take courses in their field of study as early as the first semester of their study or the second semester of their study on their freshman year. And these courses are actually courses in the program of study that have maybe a distributed throughout the semester, or maybe offer it at the end of the semester, a research project, if you will, that students do as part of their coursework. And what you want to do also is you want to look at these courses if they are offered in the department of your interest or the field of study that you're interested in, and you can reach out to your instructor or department chair and ask, is there courses that I'm taking here for my program of study that have research elements embedded into them? For example, the course that I teach, which is organic chemistry course, is focused the last couple of weeks, 4 weeks in the semester, are focused on students researching about plants and extraction of compounds from plants, where our students have an opportunity to meet with librarians, find their literature, present what they found in literature, and then they participate in design of the experimental procedure and steps that we need to take to, for example, extract a natural compound. That way, our goal is to offer research element to all of our students that take science courses, and similar ideas I'm sure exist in other departments. And so if you don't necessarily planning to spend the whole semester in the lab or the whole semester at the library researching a project, there might be a project that is already embedded into your coursework that you could claim as your micro research project. All right, so with that being said, I'm sorry for such a long presentation, but I'm always happy to answer any of your questions or help out in any way I can. And again, I'm Dr. K from Natural Sciences, and thank you so much.
Thank you so much to everybody for sharing your expertise and all the different ways that students can get experience on campus. Again, as Dr. K was saying, he was speaking, through the natural sciences department, but yeah, like he was mentioning, this could be applicable to other departments, other degree programs as well. So you can just talk to faculty, talk to the chair of those programs to see if any of that could apply to you. Since I know we're at time, we're going to wrap it up, but yeah, so as touching on the beginning of like the different ways that experience can be beneficial, the different reasons to do different experiences. I won't necessarily read all this, but yeah, what you need to think of is what would be your priority this semester? What is it you're really trying to gain from your experiences? And as I mentioned, these can definitely tick multiple boxes. I mean, skill building is honestly all of them. Like pretty much any of these experiences, you're going to develop skills, whether it's leadership skills, certain soft skills, customer service skills, communication skills, mentoring skills with the mentor program. But yeah, it's just something to think about. And based on that priority, kind of figure out what you want to pursue next, kind of have a next step in mind of this is what I think I want to pursue next. And if you wouldn't mind going to the next slide. Actually, I was going to give you their contact information. That'll be the slide after. Sorry. And then you'll have all their contact information to reach out to them. But yes, as I mentioned earlier, we are doing a series, a career series about experiences. The one we're going to have on March 2nd is going to be more specific to internships. I know we touched on internships a few times today. But we're going to delve into it a little bit more on March 2nd at 12:30. And we're going to have some employers and we're going to get the employer perspective and just kind of talk about internships, what students might think about internships, what's the reality of some internships, how to go about getting an internship, again, hearing from that employer perspective. And so we're just going to do a deep dive into that. And then in April, as I mentioned earlier, we're going to talk about how to reach out to employers to create new opportunities for yourself, whether that's shadowing, informational interviews, internships, because I know many of students who reached out to an employer to ask if they could develop or create an internship for them. So you can do it that way as well. And another thing I'll mention about internships is our office does have an internship program. So of course you can do internships for academic credit, as Dr. K was talking about. And you can do internships for academic credit in most of the degree programs. There are a few exceptions, but most of the degree programs allow that. However, you don't have to at all. The experience is the experience. And if you don't need the course credit, then yeah, you do not have to do it for academic credit. So we have a program in our office where if you're doing one that's not for academic credit, you would be able to do our program called Nights at Work, and you would be able to just engage with our office, create some learning goals, learning objectives, check in with us about how it's going, and you would be able to get it noted on your transcript. It'd be for 0 credit hours, but you would get it noted on your transcript, and you would also get an internship honor cord for graduation. So I did want to mention our internship program as well, since we've been talking about internships so much in different ways. All right, next slide, please. This is their contact information. So if you have any specific questions about any of these different areas, I have the points of contact here. Feel free to get their email. I did add a few because I'm sure Dr. K would be happy to answer your questions, but there is also a specific study abroad departmental email address that you can email if you have specific study abroad questions. Again, if it's on campus employment, that'd be human resources. And for our leadership conference, maybe one day, Mr. Raphael Villamil is the main point of contact for that if you have any questions about our leadership conference. And speaking of that, are there any questions? I'll pass it over.
No questions from online.
Okay. I have a question for Tricia. You might have said it. I apologize if you did. How, like a student to become a mentor in the peer mentor program?
It'll be listed on HR. HR's website.
Well, I meant they can't probably do that their very first semester. So when would they be qualified to do that?
They would have to have at least 60 credit hours and 2.5.
At least 60 credit hours and a 2.5 GPA. Okay, that was one question. Okay, that was a question I had. Okay. All right.
Thank you, everyone, for attending. If you have any further questions, you can reach out to the folks whose contact information is on the screen. And at some point in the next couple of weeks, this presentation, this recording will be available through the university's YouTube page. So thank you very much for attending and enjoy the rest.